Welcome into the Inside Scoop. Today is Wednesday, April 2nd, and we have a lot to get to with the latest in the recruiting world. In today's show, we'll take a look at what's next for Ohio State after landing a surprise 5-star. We'll head down to Austin to talk big visitors at Texas. Miami, they're loading up their offensive line board this cycle, and why not take a closer look at where USC will see breakout impact this season. But first, we're here to talk about the biggest developments that have gone down in the recruiting world, and boy, have there been a couple. So let's just get it started. 5-star wide receiver shuts it down. Chris Henry Jr. has been committed to the Ohio State Buckeyes since July 28, 2023. But on Tuesday, Ohio State fans heard the words that they have been waiting for from Chris Henry Jr. At least they've been waiting for like the last 3 or 4 months. Chris Henry Jr. announced that he is shutting it down. What does that mean? He is canceling his upcoming visits and shutting down his recruitment to outside programs. Do we believe him? I do today. So, because I do believe that the trips to Miami, USC, Oregon, they're off for now. I do believe that Chris Henry Jr. is shutting it down. I don't think at this moment he's talking with other programs. I think he is locked into Ohio State and not considering the other teams for now. Because Chris Henry Jr., he's been committed for nearly 2 years already, but for some reason this announcement feels like he just committed to Ohio State. Why does it feel like he just committed to Ohio State? Because I think things were getting very serious between Henry and Oregon. Yes, USC was involved, Miami was involved as well, but I think this whole thing happened, this whole shutdown happened because of the direction it was heading between Henry and Oregon, and I think Ohio State wanted it to stop, at least for now. It is over. His recruitment is done. He's not taking those visits for now. All right, USC steals another one from Oregon. USC, they are loading up on in-state talent, and that's a good sign that most of this class is going to stick. After the last couple of years, we got to talk about losing half of the class to decommits and flips. But doing it from within the state of California, I think, is the formula to get a majority of these guys to stick and sign with the Trojans. And this week, it was another big addition. It didn't take long for the Trojans to pounce on Tom Tupoyi after decommitting from Oregon last week. The 4-star defensive lineman from Mater Dei High School committed to the Trojans. Last month, remember, USC flipped Jonas Williams from Oregon, and the Trojans might not be done. Offensive lineman Cody Green at Mater Dei, could he be another flip? I'm not saying it's going to happen today or tomorrow, but it could be another one that USC takes from Oregon. USC currently with the number 2 ranked class in the country, only behind LSU. And then, of course, the Oregon Ducks sitting there at number 3. All right, moving on. UF beats Miami for the last recruit. What am I talking about? The Gators landed another 2025 prospect, and he was the last top 150 recruit in the 2025 class. Yes, I know it felt like the 2025 class is way over, way beyond us because early signing day was in December, but then you had the late signing day in February, and you had Javari Flowers. He's who we're talking about here. Defensive back Javari Flowers announced in early February that he was reclassifying from 2026 to 2025. His recruitment started. It was put in a microwave. We went through it real fast. Miami, Florida, Notre Dame, those ended up being kind of the final 3. Georgia was involved. Florida State was also involved. But this is a big win for the Gators because they've had a string of big wins down the stretch in 2025. Remember, they flipped defensive back Onis Conanbaty from Tennessee. They add him with Ben Hanks Jr. Now you get Javari Flowers, a really good DB class, and a really strong finish for the Gators. They are now in the top 10 for 2025. All right, last topic I want to hit on here is Notre Dame is trending for an elite wide receiver. A Fong bomb has gone in for a crucial target on Notre Dame's recruiting board. We've talked with insiders about the importance of the wide receiver position, one of the most valued recruits regardless of position, and a new prediction rolled in this week for Kadon Finley to Notre Dame. Finley's from Aledo, Texas. He ranks as a top 20 player at his position. And as we know, we talk with Mike Singer, we talk with Steve Wiltfong. Notre Dame, They're searching for a dynamic playmaker like Finley, and now that the predictions are rolling in, it sounds like they could be closing in on a massive commitment. So talk to us. I don't know if we hit on all the biggest developments. You let us know what you think about these. And if I missed anything, what are you guys tracking when it comes to college football recruiting? Let me know. Let's talk a little Ohio State recruiting, because on Monday, a surprise commitment went down. Ohio State goes into SEC territory and beats LSU in Texas for the number 2 ranked safety in America, Blaine Bradford. So let's talk about it. Was this a surprise to you, Alex? Because it was a surprise to me.
Yeah, I mean, massive surprise. And I would say maybe even I was going to say some people inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center were surprised. Probably not after the weekend visit. I think that they probably had a strong indication that this might be coming. But I think one came into the visit that Bradford and his family had this weekend and expected to come at it with him committed to Ohio State, especially this early in the process. So I would say anyone thought LSU was going to be the pick here. His brother Jacob enrolled at LSU as part of last year's signing class. He's from Penn. You can't get more LSU than that. So I would say, yeah, massive surprise. I knew Ohio State was in on this one, but I never really considered them a serious threat to land Bradford away from LSU. I didn't think anyone could. So this came out of nowhere and it really took everyone by surprise.
Yeah, and these elite type top 30, top 50 type prospects, I mean, normally the process is, hey, we're going to pare down our list of schools. We're going to put out a top 7, a top 5. We're going to list our official visits, and then we're going to set an obligatory commitment date sometime in the month of July, probably delay that a couple times, and then announce in front of the school on so here we are, and Blaine Bradford just commits on a Monday afternoon. What do you think it was? Was it something on the visit? Do you think he was heading into that visit intending to make that decision, or do you think they got him on the trip?
I think it's one of those things where everything on paper, right, is he was supposed to go to LSU. And I think that was kind of in his mind, but I think there was visits he took to Ohio State over the past year, last summer in the fall, where he just kind of felt like that was maybe the place for him. I didn't know this maybe coming into the visit or the commitment, but it seems like, just in the postmortem of this, he just kind of always felt like Ohio State felt right to him. The relationship with Tim Walton and Max Guerrieri was top notch. I think meeting Matt Patricia this weekend maybe even sealed the deal for him. So I think coming into this visit, deep down, he kind of felt like that. And he was just there this weekend, hanging out with the players, being around the staff in kind of maybe a way that he never had, seeing how they're coaching them up in spring ball, just really getting connect with them on another level. And he just came away from the weekend saying, this is the place for me. I know it without a shred of doubt in my heart. And this is the best decision for me, as an individual, not who thinks I should go there, not because my brother goes to LSU, but Ohio State just is the best fit for me, when it comes to development, comfort, relationships, all the things across the board.
All right, now we see Ohio State inside the top 5. Ohio State fans, exciting times. Jump on board, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel, talking to Alex Gleitman of Letterman Row. And I'm assuming nothing's going to change on Ohio State's end, but number 1 safety Braylon Womack has been heavily involved with the Buckeyes. Do you think he's still interested with Blaine Bradford now on board?
Yeah, I mean, it was full steam ahead, I think, for both of these guys the whole way. There was no secret that they were recruiting both of them. They play a 3-safety system, so there's plenty of room for both of these guys to get on the field. And there's actually probably another 1 or 2 other top-notch safeties that they're going to go after as well. We'll talk about that in just a bit, I'm sure. But yeah, and nothing changes with Braylon Womack. They want to land both of those guys. And, I think the same way you saw Lathan Ransom, Caleb Downs, man, the defensive secondary for Ohio State last year at safety, along with Jordan Hancock, who kind of played that slot nickel safety position. I think that's kind of, how they're continuing to recruit all these safeties, elite safeties, while not, saying, oh, we got Bradford in, Womack, you probably won't want to come.
All right, let's dig into this big visit weekend a little further. Number 1 running back Savion Hyder was on campus Do you think Ohio State made up ground here, namely on rival Michigan?
I think that they did. I think that Ohio State, this was a big visit for Ohio State.
Yeah.
The whole Hyder family was there. Travion Henderson was on campus. Ohio State had their pro day a few days before, so he was still on campus. He's a Virginia native. Savion Hyder's a Virginia native. Those two were able to talk for a good chunk of the practice and connect, and I'm sure that they talked about a number of things on multiple fronts about being an Ohio State running back and all the things that come with that. I think there's a great relationship with Carlos Lachlan and Tony Johnson, who's the assistant running backs coach. I think that the relationship with Ryan Day is great. It's really top notch across the board. I think the biggest question for Ohio State is going to be, is NIL the biggest factor in this recruitment? Because I am fairly confident that one of the other three finalists, if not more than them, are going to have a larger NIL package than Ohio State for Savion Hyder. It's going to be, is that the end all be all for him? Is he just taking the largest package? Or is it, hey, I know I'm going to do pretty well as an Ohio State running back, both in the guarantee and what my potential is. And I'm sure talking to Travion Henderson helped that. But I also feel like I have the connection with Carlos Lachlan. I like that the system that they run. I like the way that they develop running backs. They're going to have two guys drafted, probably both on day 2 this year, but definitely within, Thursday or Friday. Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. They've had good backs there, obviously, throughout really their entire history. So does that stuff, come into effect, or is it simply just the most NIL? Because if it's the latter, I don't think he lands with Ohio State. If it's the former, I think Ohio State has more than a puncher's chance. I think they did a really good job this weekend.
Let's talk some quarterbacks. And Ohio State learned that they are not in the top 3 for Bo Bentley. So my question is, who is Ohio State now focused on at the quarterback position? Inside Scoop fans, listen up. Finding last-minute tickets to the biggest college basketball tournament can be a nightmare. So don't miss the excitement of your favorite team making the finals or a great story of a sleeper making a deep run into the tourney. See it all in person with the help of Game Time. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the big-time matchups. Game Time app is great. It's easy to use, and it works in any city with any team, and you get the best price guaranteed. Do not stress over getting into your favorite team's game anymore. There's only so many big games, and you need to get these tickets at the best prices. Game Time is the best place for last-minute ticket deals. I love the seat view function. It's so cool. You get to see a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy it. Now, here's what we're going to do. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use redeem code ON3, that's ON, the number 3, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute ticket deals, lowest price guarantee.
It's a great question, and one that we probably want to know too. Today, April 1st and then April 2nd, they'll have Derek Zammit from DePaul Catholic out here in New Jersey visiting. He doesn't have an offer yet. I would be somewhat surprised if he left campus without an offer. He's really only visiting places that he's offered and that he's really looking at. He's been talking to quarterbacks coach Billy Fessler. He's been talking to Coach Day a little bit. He's got teammates at Ohio State. Des Jones and Deshonne Stewart both signed with Ohio State in the class of 2025. So that's someone that I would definitely watch. He's highly ranked by On3, and I think, Alabama offered recently. So I know Alabama, Washington, Mississippi State, Syracuse, those are kind of the schools in it right now. I would watch Ohio State. The other one that's visiting, Steve Wilfong reported, was Jet Tamala from the state of Nebraska. He's kind of a new name on the radar. I think you'll probably start to see new names like this pop up. But he's visiting next week, April 8th. So it's interesting, Ohio State bringing in these guys that kind of really haven't been in the mix for an offer, or as far as ending up in this class for the Buckeyes. And now you're starting to see these new names come out. I know they're still talking to Dia Bell in the hopes that they could flip him from Texas. Still talking to a few other names, but I think it's really tough. You have Brady Edmonds in the 2027 class committed. You had Tavian St. Clair signed and enrolled already from last year's class. So kind of being sandwiched between those guys. It's not that easy for Ohio State to kind of pull an elite guy, but I think that they're still feel like they could get a really good signal caller in this class, and maybe it's a name we're not even talking about.
Yeah, it's interesting to kind of see the quarterback board develop right before our eyes. I think with Jared Curtis coming off the board on May 5th, we could see those QB dominoes start to fall. And I think we'll probably know a little bit more on Ohio State's situation as we head into summer, probably have a more bona fide number one target on that quarterback board. All right. Any more interesting updates from what was another busy weekend in Columbus? Anything Ohio State fans need to know?
Yeah, I would say there's a couple things. I actually put a loaded notebook with scoop and intel on Letterman Row on Monday. But I think Ohio State made a really big move with 3 prospects that visited. 2 offensive linemen, Evan Goodwin from the state of Arkansas. It was his first visit to Ohio State. He was the first prospect that new offensive line coach Tyler Bowen offered in the 2026 class when he got to Ohio State. I think they really moved the needle there. I wouldn't be surprised to see him shift around his official visit schedule to add Ohio State to that list. And I think that they're going to have a really good chance at him moving forward. Drew Evers from Texas. I know a lot of people with the ties to Texas A&M have been saying Aggies all the way. I do think the Aggies are right up there, but I think Ohio State made a huge statement this weekend, getting him in front of their new offensive line staff. And really just showing him a side of Ohio State that he really hasn't seen. So I would have Ohio State, Texas A&M fighting for Drew, who's one of the best interior offensive linemen in the country. Sapien Caldwell. We talked about Braylon Womack. We talked about Blaine Bradford. People aren't talking enough about Simeon Caldwell and Ohio State. I think it's Ohio State, Notre Dame at the top. I think USC, Miami, they're in there as well. But I think Ohio State moved to the top with this visit. He told me that he's considering, instead of a post-official visit decision, maybe moving his decision up to sometime before the end of May. And I think that would be very favorable for Ohio State if that does indeed happen.
All right, Alex Gleitman from Letterman Row. Like you said, a really loaded insider. You guys go check that out right now. Ohio State fans, talk to us. How are you feeling? It feels like momentum's starting to build with this class, especially on the offensive line. Who do you guys think is the most important target moving forward? Let us know in the comment section below. Let's talk a little Texas recruiting, as they just are coming off another big weekend, and one of the most important prospects on the entire recruiting board was tight end Mark Bowman. That's where we're going to start, because the last time you were on the show, you said he's one of the most important names on the board. So Mark Bowman from Mater Dei High School in Santa Ana, California. He was on campus this weekend. Do you like where Texas stands?
Absolutely, especially after this last weekend. Look, we liked where Bowman and Texas were headed before this trip to Austin. This was, I don't know, he's been to Texas a ton of times. His dad actually grew up in Dallas-Fort Worth. He went to Louisville. And so there's a lot of familiarity there, some family ties, but he just really likes Austin. Now, I asked him what's going to be the most important factor for this guy in his decision, and he said tight end usage quickly. And that's something I think Texas has his attention about, because when you send Jatavian Sanders to an All-American status, Gunnar Helm, all-conference status, who's about to get drafted, there's a pattern there. Plus, he has a couple former teammates from Mater Dei that are actually in Austin right now, including a tight end in Spencer Shannon. He talked about kind of connecting with him, answering a lot of questions that he may not could get from other places, other schools. Him and Brandon Baker, who's probably your starting right tackle for Texas in 2025. That's another good friend. We saw them kind of hanging out before Bowman left the facility. Look, there's a lot of horses in this race. I mean, this is a kid that reclassified from 2027. And sometimes when you do that, you see them kind of go down the rankings a little bit. He didn't budge. That's just how good Mark Bowman is. Like, he is special, but he loved practice. He loved the intensity of practice. He loved how the young tight ends were getting infused into the program and were getting reps and things of that sort. He thought that was great. But ultimately, he said, like, he loved the environment and he loves Austin. And I said, what's going to be your biggest factor on your decision? And it came down to tight end usage in the city and coaching staff. And the two things he had noted before that were he loves the Texas coaching staff. Jeff Banks has been recruiting this kid for almost 2 years. And then also the fact that there's a lot of familiarity there with that Mater Dei pipeline trying to continue to flow to Austin. Texas is in a great spot, but so are a couple other schools. And so I think what they did is they held serve in this recruitment because Georgia is squarely in it.
Yep.
USC and Oregon are going to have a say. He's supposed to go see Ohio State and Ole Miss next month. He's doing his due diligence. Wonderful family. Mom and dad were just so cool, so nice. I see where he gets them. We actually saw him the weekend before at the OT7 tournament up in Dallas, just dominating playing wide receiver. This kid is special. Texas is in a great spot, but this still has a ways to go.
All right, so wanted to next talk about edge Richard Wesley. He's a 2027 reclassifier that is now in the 2026 class, and I noticed the three most important names on my outline are all reclassifications. Mark Bowman, Richard Wesley, and then we're going to talk Xavier Crowell next. All reclassifying from 27 to 26. I didn't even realize that until you were talking about Mark Bowman. I was like, oh, yeah. So let's talk about Richard Wesley because this is a big battle. I mean, you got some heavy hitters involved in this one. You got Oregon, USC, Ohio State, among others. Texas had him on campus. What'd you learn over the weekend?
Yeah, so I think a lot of parents from class of 2027 kids know about that July 1st date. I think they have a pretty good idea.
Yeah, it's a pretty big theme this year just in recruiting in general. Havon Finney, he's another big name that has reclassified. So there's a bunch in the top 50 now that have all reclassed from 27 to 26.
Another one, Booby Feaster, who was actually on campus at Texas as well. And so I'll tell you this, some of these kids are ready. I can also tell you some of them aren't. But guess what? Richard Wesley is ready.
He's one of them.
He's one of them. Texas I believe they have 42 guys scheduled right now for official visits in June. And it's for the first 3 weekends in June. And that's kind of rich. That's their formula right now. Out of all those guys, they have 3 edge prospects. And I think the reason for that is, one, that might be one of the most fruitful positions in the program right now. You go from Ethan Burt, Colin Simmons, Trey Moore, Colton Vasic, Zena Umeozulu, who had a great redshirt year. He's going to be counted on this year. Then you sign 5-star Lance Jackson, 4-star Smith Arogbo. Like, that room is in really, really good shape. And so right now, Texas is being very picky with who they bring in for 2026. And Richard Wesley's at the top of that list. They absolutely love this guy for good reason. If you're away from the ball, you can get away with this reclassification skipping a year when you're further away from the ball. This guy's on the line, and you can't even tell a difference. He is a young, gentle giant. Texas is quietly really climbing up this recruitment. He loves the Colin Simmons comps. He loves hanging out, getting to watch practice, getting to get to know Pete Kwiatkowski a lot better, but also Alan Clark, the new edge coach they brought in from Ohio State. That guy is already making a major dent in this edge stuff. And so I think they're going to be really picky. The number may even be 1 or 2 in this cycle just based on roster allocation. But right now, Richard Wesley is a dude. He might be a little bit younger than these other guys, but he does not look it. He is special. His tape jumps off. It's surprising he's so young and doing this at such a high level. But he's another one like Bowman and Crowell that they've got a who's who list of schools where they can go. I know USC has done well there. Oregon looks good there as well. I think Alabama and Georgia are in the mix too. But ultimately, Texas just kind of got into this one maybe a month ago. And I think if you give Clark a little bit more time, they've positioned themselves to get the official visit. And once that official visit happens, I think that's when we get a real sense of where Wesley could go. But right now, Texas has the best example for edge recruiting. You see what we did here? Watch and just copy paste.
All right. How about running back Xavier Crowell? He is the 3rd reclassification. Booby Feaster was the 4th that was on campus. But we're going to talk Xavier Crowell, the running back, was on campus. And what about where Texas stands? Did you get any intel?
Yeah, I caught up with Crowell as soon as he left when he was getting on his plane. It's funny. Him and Tashard Choice were getting a lot closer, the former running back coach. Right after Choice took the job with the Detroit Lions, Crowell tweets out, "I'm out on Texas. Not going to take my OV. Yeah. I'm shifting to somebody else." And it took Chad Scott maybe a week to change that back. And so you got to give him credit. Whatever Scott has said or done has been incredible. because Crowell not only rescheduled the official for June 6th to the 8th, he came in for 2.5 days this last weekend. They did well. They moved the needle with this kid, and it's easy to see if you've just watched Texas football over the last 3 years. You see Bijan Robinson, Rashawn Johnson, Jonathan Brooks, Jaden Blue. Sark might be a pass-happy guy, but they hand the ball off a lot in Austin. Yeah. And when your fourth-string running back goes for 1,000 yards last year in Trey Wisner, that's going to raise some eyes. And so Crowell saw it and got to ask a lot of questions, got to meet Scott face-to-face. That went really, really well. I still can't get over Alabama and Auburn. He's a Jackson, Alabama kid. He's an in-state kid, and he has grown up loving those two schools. And I think it's going to be really tough to pull him from either one of those guys. But Texas doesn't care. As we've seen in the last few cycles, it doesn't matter where you're committed to or where you're coming from. Texas has as much confidence as anybody that they can get you. And Crowell really connected with the staff this weekend. I thought Trey Wisner helping him in recruiting was big, because that's a guy that he was like hanging out with for a bit. And if anyone that knows Trey Wisner, there's not many people better in the college game as a person, especially off the field, to go through the things he has in life. Just sit down and listen to him, because you can learn some stuff from Trey. I think Crowell picked that up. And I think he saw that culture that the kids talk about a lot and the coaches talk about a lot. Texas did really well to get not only back into the recruitment, to get him back on campus, but to make a dent in the recruitment. But I'm still holding my horses until that last OV in June to Alabama. I think that one's going to loom the largest, and then I could see a decision in July or August.
Yeah, that'll be a recruitment that we continue to watch as Texas keeping pace with its rivals. One more big-time prospect I want to talk about. He hasn't been on campus yet this week, but he will by the end of the week. We're talking 5-star offensive tackle Felix Ojo. We've been talking about him a lot regarding Texas. How important is this spring visit for his recruitment?
Okay, I mean, it's kind of important. And I know that sounds silly, but I think Texas is far and away the leader right now. I think the reason they're getting him on campus in the spring is because he got a fear of missing out talking to the offensive lineman last weekend. When they came out, all these guys were gushing over Trevor Gooseby and DJ Campbell and Brandon Baker and Cole Hudson. You could just tell that they loved watching Kyle Flood work and watching these offensive linemen work. And they've seen what that O-line has looked like the last 3 or 4 years with the Kelvin Banks and the Cam Williams and the Christian Jones. They see that. And so I think that really, really got his attention. But, look, Texas is in a great spot with Felix Ojo. I think it's them versus the field. Ohio State is taking a big swing. Michigan's trying to get a big cut. But I think he stays at home. He is the priority on the big board, especially in the offensive tackle room. If he's 1A, John Turntine is 1B. Those are the two most important guys. I don't say this often, but I don't even know how important it is that Felix Ojo's coming to campus this weekend. He's been a dozen times. He'll be back either April 26th for the Fan Fest or for his official visit. I believe it's in mid or late June. I think the Horns stay in a great spot whether he's on campus or not. The truth is, we just see a kid. We saw an example of a kid with fear of missing out for him. He talked to Nicholas Robertson a lot, who just committed to Texas, big offensive lineman, road grader out of Klein High School in spring. And so, it sounds silly. How important is it that he comes? I don't know if it's that important. I think Texas is already in a tremendous spot there. I think he's jealous that all these other prospects got to watch practice and he hasn't got to see it yet. So he'll be on campus on Friday so that he doesn't miss out. So he'll be joined by Zayden Crimpin, another 4-star offensive lineman up here out of the Prosper area in Dallas-Fort Worth. He's going to be on campus as well. That kid may have more offers than anybody in the country. And so we were talking about it as a staff earlier at Inside Texas. We think some of these offensive linemen felt like they missed a good opportunity to watch practice last weekend, and now they're going to be fully padded up this Friday. They're getting back on campus. Texas and Ojo are in a great spot.
Man, this is sounding good for Texas. We're seeing them starting to climb. That momentum is building as we head from spring into summer. Justin Wells, Inside Texas, you guys do a phenomenal job of covering. We've only scratched the surface. You guys should go read Inside Texas for much more. Justin Wells, appreciate your time on the Inside Scoop. Let's talk a little Miami Hurricanes recruiting as they got it going in the trenches. A big commitment this week. Joel Irvin commits. Second commitment on that offensive line. It wasn't a true flip. He decommitted from Louisville just to commit to Miami a day or two later. So is Zuby Charles with Kane Sport. Does Miami feel like they got a steal here?
Yeah, absolutely. Joel Irvin is a guy that the Hurricanes were super, super high on. Despite his rankings, no, it's a 3-star guy, but he had a lot of big-time offers from a lot of big-time programs. Georgia, Florida, Florida State were also in the mix. And, like you mentioned, not a true flip, but he visited Miami on back-to-back weekends, and that kind of solidified him wanting to be in Coral Gables. Absolutely massive prospect. We know these are the type of guys that Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirabal want to bring in the building. Right, spoke to his high school coach, around 6'7", 330 pounds with an 80-inch wingspan. So one thing that you can't teach is size, and Joel Irvin has that, and Miami loves his athletic ability at that size. So they're really happy with that getting, adding another massive body to that Hurricanes offensive line room for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of massive bodies, you got Jackson Cantwell on the board at the top of the board. You got Kenai Pepe. Both of them go, 6'6", 6'7" as well. How attainable, though, are Cantwell and Pepe?
I think they're both really attainable for the Hurricanes. I think they're in a great position for both of those guys. I'll start with Pepe because he just recently visited campus. He's made it clear Miami's, if not the number one team in his recruitment, second or third with USC and Texas in the mix right there. And, Pepe is a guy that Miami staff has been recruiting since he was in the 8th grade when they were at Oregon. So that connection is there. They absolutely love what he's put on tape the last 3 years at IMG Academy. I think he's one of the premier tackles in the 2026 class. And then obviously with Jackson Cantwell, Miami got him on campus for a multi-day visit not too long ago. And they're, steadily chipping away with the number one prospect in the 2026 class. They've let him know, hey, you have the opportunity to come and be a day one starter for us and develop in 3 years. And then, we'll ship you off to the NFL and you have your best luck there. So two guys that I think Miami's in a really good spot with right now. They have 2 tackles committed, but I think they're willing to take those 2 guys just because of how high they are on their board for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. National prospects in both those names. But what other names are there on this offensive line board that Miami fans should know?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the legacy guy, Cannon Pickett out of Tampa Bay Tech. Obviously, a lot of connections with the Canes. He's a guy that they really like. His brother Booker Pickett's, on the team right now. His father, Booker Pickett Sr., also played at Miami. He's a guy that they absolutely love. And, another guy that's a bit under the radar but is picking up momentum on the recruiting shows, Ryan Moret out of Southridge, 6'4", around 290, 300 pounds, state championship wrestler. And Miami really, really likes, what he can do as an interior offensive lineman. He recently made the transition from the D-line, but he's a guy that's on their radar that they're really, really liking. And then those 2 tackles that you mentioned are kind of those big names as well, too. But a ton of guys on Miami's offensive line recruiting board for sure.
All right, so Miami, it's been buzzing down there in Coral Gables on the recruiting trail really since Miami started spring practice. So we got another weekend coming up. Is it going to be a big visit weekend? And what other spring visits should Miami fans be excited about?
Yeah, so last weekend was, I expect to be the biggest recruiting weekend, but this weekend is going to be kind of a little bit more of a sentimental weekend, getting, less targets on, but guys that they're going to really roll the red carpet out for. And one name to watch is Jalen Lott, 4-star wide receiver. Not a lot of buzz around him and the Miami Hurricanes, but, speaking with those guys down there at Coral Gables, Jalen Lott is a wide receiver they like a lot, which is funny to say. And then another playmaker, Jay Lamar out of Colquitt County in Georgia. He's actually the cousin of Miami wide receiver Nye Carr. He's a 4-star running back that the Hurricanes really, really love and are going to have the chance to host him. I know he's been to a few other schools this spring, but Miami's going to really try to ramp up things in that recruitment. So those are 2 guys that I'm really, really watching out for this weekend with a bit of a smaller, group of guys coming through. And then obviously the spring game is going to be absolutely massive in the middle of April. Miami's going to have a lot of big time guys there. So I feel like that'll be the cherry on top of the cake, which was a busy spring down there in Coral Gables.
All right, Miami fans, jump on board. Hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. You can feel the momentum building down there in Coral Gables. I agree, Zuby. I think when the spring game rolls around, this is what we're kind of building up to, going to be a huge recruiting event for the Canes. So, Miami fans, talk to us a little bit here about this offensive line recruiting. I know we trust Mario Cristobal when it comes to the trenches. How are you feeling about the way this class is, how it's shaping up? Let us know. Comment section below. Let's take a look at this USC Trojan roster. Today we got Cody Belair on 3 national scout. And Cody, I want to know about a former 5-star recruit, somebody on this Trojan roster that used to be a 5-star that is going to have a breakout season. Also a former 3-star that you think could outplay that ranking this season.
Yeah, Josh, we talk about players having multiple lives. in this day and age in college football with the transfer portal, right? And the former 5-star and new USC defensive tackle Keyshawn Silver is a prime example of that. He enrolled at North Carolina out of high school, appeared in only 6 games for the Tar Heels before transferring to Kentucky, where he started every game for the Wildcats in his 2 seasons, totaling 43 tackles, 3 TFLs, and a sack. This is someone for USC that I think will be a huge contributor, maybe not on the stat sheet, but he will make such an impact in the middle of that defense that it will allow everyone else in that front 7 to eat and get ball carriers down in the backfield. So I think Keyshawn Silver will be a pivotal player for the Trojans and make the most of his final year in college football.
Yeah, that would be huge for them if they could get that 5-star ability out of him this year. Now, how about a former 3-star that you think this season on the field will outplay that ranking for USC?
Yeah, the Trojans need someone to step up this year under center after Miller Moss's departure via the transfer portal. But fortunately for USC, they got a sneak peek as to who that will probably be in 2025, and that's quarterback Jaden Mayava. And if you're an optimist, you say, hey, he threw 7 touchdowns against 2 of the top defensive teams in the country last year, Notre Dame and Texas A&M, so that's a positive. But if you're a pessimist, you probably would point out the fact that he threw a combined 5 interceptions in those 2 games last year as well. But if we're really looking at this from a broader perspective, this is the first time he's going into a season as the starter since 2023, when he was at UNLV, where apparently people forgot that this is the man that threw for 3,000 plus yards and completed 63% of his passes while leading UNLV to its first appearance in the Mountain West Championship ever, and the most wins that school has seen since 1984. And I believe that we will be seeing more of that guy in 2025 for USC.
Okay. So USC fans, talk to us. Who are you most excited about? Is there a former 5-star that you think is going to break out? And are there any 3-stars on this roster that you are particularly excited about? Let us know. We got a special recruit on with us, top 150 prospect from Oaks Christian High School out there in California, Deshonne Redeaux. And Deshonne, as a junior, you ran for over 1,200 yards, 17 touchdowns, getting ready to become a senior. But first, you're going to commit this Saturday on your birthday. You're going to make a final decision. So I just want to know, do you know where, you don't have to tell me like the team that you're going to commit to, but have you made your decision in your head?
I have. I for sure know where I'm going.
All right.
For
Now,
sure.
you got your top teams. I'm looking at them here. It's Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, UCLA, Washington. Are these still your finalists heading in, or has it been narrowed down since then?
I'll say yeah. All the schools definitely had a chance on landing me.
What was it about these teams that kind of made your final list? Why did these programs?
Just the way priority and just the way they handled their business, like when it came to me as a recruit and as a person. I think that those things that they did to look over or to pour into me and to do all the extra things to make sure that I'm learning everything about their program and what they got going on. I think those are all the things that mattered, and that's why I put those teams in my top 6.
Okay. Now, we are talking to you as we tape this on Wednesday afternoon, and you are literally fresh off a Michigan visit. You got wrapped up with that this morning. How was that trip to Michigan?
It was great. I'll say it was great. See, I got the beanie on right now.
Yeah, repping. I see that.
Yeah, it was definitely good. I'm glad I went out there to go see it. They came to my school like I think a month or 2 back, and I was like, I have to go see this school, and they didn't fail by meeting my expectations and making me feel comfortable and at home by being there in these 2 days.
Yeah, talking to your dad a little bit last week, it sounded like maybe Michigan was the team that was making the late push. Do you feel like that was the case in your recruitment?
Definitely. They weren't there. They definitely got there a little late, I'll say. But when they got there late, they were very intentional and they made sure that everything got done. They made sure I talked to the head coach. They made sure everybody knew me on the staff. and they just did everything sharp and on point.
What'd you learn about Michigan on that trip?
I just learned that they're a very family oriented team for sure. Like their brotherhood and the way their team is as a I think they're gonna have something special. They're building something really special, especially with the new pieces that they're adding, and just the way they run their program. Like coach, he cares about all the kids. Like he knows all the kids, and that just shows that he cares about everybody's opinion and everybody being poured into the program.
You get a chance to
And
see Bryce
my
Underwood?
niece- yeah. I actually met him. He's an unbelievable kid for sure. He's very humble. He shows love like to anybody. He's a leader on the team, and he has that drive to just win and like make sure everybody is good around him and lead.
All right, so if Michigan was the team that came on late, I think it's fair to say USC has been the one constant in your recruitment. They're the in-state program. I mean, them along with UCLA. But when's the last time you were at USC for a visit?
I think a few weeks ago, I think last month, for sure.
What do you like about checking out the Trojans and seeing their facilities and making those visits? What do you like about USC?
I'll just say that just them being the hometown team and me growing up on USC and always seeing them around, and just them showing the plan to really build USC back up to where they were. Because you know how in the history and you always had USC in the top, like always been there, and then you can tell that they're very diligent and intentional about keeping kids home and making sure that their program is leading up to expectations. Because without that, like I know that people were always saying like how Coach Wright was going to get fired and stuff, but I think that by him just like flipping the narrative of him showing that he can do the recruiting and he can change the program and like take it up a notch, I think that really stood out.
Yeah.
For
Do
sure.
you trust him? Do you trust what he's building at USC?
I'll say yeah, for sure. Just the things he says to me and the things he poured into me, like he treats me like I'm on the team already. Like I think that definitely means a lot.
Yeah. What coaching staffs out of your top group, is there one coaching staff or two that you would say you have the best relationship with?
I'll say I got a good relationship with Michigan coaching staff, USC coaching staff, and Oregon and Washington. Definitely.
Okay.
I'll say I have coach staff with all those schools for real though. Like
Yeah.
all the schools, we definitely built a bond since I was sophomore, into freshman year, sophomore year. Like they've been recruiting me for a while, and especially when the new coaches transition and stuff like that. Like the new coaches that come on board, like we click pretty fast, and that just shows that the things that the program is doing around coaching philosophies and the team philosophies around just making sure everybody is like on the same page and having that same just being like genuine and pure and real about your recruiting, stuff like that.
Yeah. I got a more general question about recruiting. We're in the NIL era, so how do those conversations get initiated when it comes to recruiting? Like, is that something that you, your family, your agent does, or do the schools bring it up before even you bring it up?
Well, I know how my recruiting process goes, that we make sure that we schedule a date on my itinerary where I go to where I'll be visiting schools and stuff like that. We always make sure that they put us on the GM, they put us with the general manager, and we never really asked for it, but they always made sure to fit that piece in to always, because my family is my agent. Like I don't really have an agent.
Okay.
I got my family for that, so they really handle all those stuff. And
is that pretty
I'm just
helpful that
blessed
they're there so that you don't have to have that awkward conversation with the GM? Does it help to have your family involved?
Yeah, for sure. No, it definitely helps a lot, because just having them be in my blood, and they have the ability to do that and negotiate and stuff like that, like I think that's top for sure.
Yeah.
Like I'm very blessed to have that in my life.
So your decision, as we said, comes on your birthday. So happy early birthday on Saturday, and you're going to be done.
Appreciate you.
You're going to be done with this recruiting process. What have you learned throughout this recruiting process?
I'll just say that never take anything for granted. Like anybody that wants to recruit me and wants to reach out, they always can. Like I'm never bigger than the coach or the program. I'll say that, and always just never. There's always take these moments in because you never get these moments back. And I think by going through this recruiting process, everybody that's been recruiting me and everybody that's just been pouring into me, like I'm very appreciated. And I can just thank everybody. And I'm very blessed to be in this position because anybody would love to be in the position I am. So I could just never not give it the attention it deserves, because if I wasn't here for my peoples, my family, my coaches, my mentors, everybody, then just stuff like that.
Yeah. Are you nervous for Saturday? Or are you excited?
Now, I'm excited for sure. I think I'm gonna shock the world with this one. It's a lot of talks around where I'm gonna go, but I think I'm gonna shock the world.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I looking at the way that it's shaping up, I mean, I think a lot of people would think USC the in-state favorite, but this last minute trip to Michigan, you got Oregon heavily involved, you got Washington. Ultimately for you, like what's the biggest factor in your recruitment?
I'll say the biggest factor is giving me the opportunity to be a differentiator right now. Like, give me the chance to play early, develop, and just using me to my full potential and my full ability to just let me be that guy. Like, that's the biggest thing about me. Like, I'm just gonna play ball. Like, everything else gonna take care of itself. So I just want to go out there. You're gonna give me the chance, and I'm gonna just show you what I can do. For real, that's the biggest thing.
All right. Well, I noticed you're committing before the summer. So are you still going to take your official visits, or does this commitment mean that you're only going to take an official visit to the one you commit to? What's going to happen?
I think I might just take an official to the place I commit to, but I'm not sure. I'm still gonna have talks and still gonna talk with my family about that and the school, just to like go out and to see if I really need to go see places. Because it might be certain places I just want to go see, just to see how it is, because I have that chance to, But other than that, I don't think I'm gonna go out. To be honest, it's just really what how I see how I see this playing out after I commit.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Sure.
Deshonne Redeaux, good luck to you. You're going to be making your decision on Saturday. We're talking to running back Deshonne Redeaux. He's a top 150 prospect from Oaks Christian. And you're going to be coming off the board on your birthday. Good luck with everything, Deshonne.
Thank you. Appreciate you so much for having me here, and thank you for giving me the time to tell you about my journey and what I've been going through. For sure, appreciate that.